Good day, sir. Welcome to the presentation of Chapter 1 to 3 of our research entitled The Impacts of Modular Distance Learning to the Academic Performance of Grade 5 Pupils of Rapu-Rapu Central Schools. We are the researcher. I am Gloricel N. Manaynal.
I am Christian A. Apin.
I am Joyce C. Balmaceda.
I am Christine B. Baranda.
And I am Joram B. Balista.
To start, here's the chapter 1, the problem. Introduction. The face-to-face method involves students and teachers interacting in person. All teaching is done physically. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our lives have become more difficult. In our situation today, students are one of those affected. The instructional method has been changed into distance learning, which is divided into two parts, online distance learning and modular distance learning. Distance learning is a method of education in which students receive instruction via online classes, video recordings, video conferencing, or any other audiovisual technology media. It allows people to receive education without physically being present in a classroom. Distance learning via the internet is the only way to teach students using technology. Distance learning is self-study, and it used for students who do not have access to the internet or the necessary equipment to take online classes. Teachers will provide students with printed modules or electronic copies of modules that are appropriate to them. Modular distance learning involves individualized instruction that allows learners to use self-learning modules, whether printed or in digital format, which are centered on the most essential learning competencies provided by DepEd. Teachers provide LMS to students, which include distribution and retrieval as well as assessment tools for checking understanding and providing immediate and appropriate feedback. In modular distance learning, the teacher is responsible for monitoring the progress of the students through home visits. Despite the difficult situation caused by the pandemic, students continue to study and learn. Even if they are in a modular system, however, in this type of education system, we will notice that students have difficulty because it is no longer the teachers who teaches them who would have been able to provide them with appropriate and sufficient knowledge. They are unable to concentrate on their modules, and some have learned nothing because of the levels of learning competencies of every learners. Their academic performance suffers as a result. Modular distance learning's approach revolves around the four-step process. First is distribution, next is application, then monitoring, and the last is submission. First, distribution. The self-learning module should be picked up by parents and guardians at the school, and it should be distributed to the learners. Next, application. The learner is responsible for completing the activities in the modules in their own special way. They can finish the assignment on their modules with the help of the module and other reference materials like guide. Parents, family members, and other relatives can also help students. Next, monitoring. Teachers can monitor and assist students in completing assignments on their modules using a monitoring checklist provided by the school. It will be used to determine which of the student subjects have already been finished. In addition, their progress will be monitored by their teacher or class advisor. Next is submission. When the learners completed all the tasks of their modules, the parents or guardians are responsible for returning or submitting the modules to the school. The use of modular distance learning advocates self-directed learning. Using modules for learning leads to better self-study or learning skills among students. The concepts presented in the modules engross students' learning. The tasks provided develop a sense of responsibility among students, and they progress on their own. They learn to learn, they are empowered. The students participate in real experiences. They discover new things, and they experience their knowledge on their own. The students learn to reflect on their own experiences, thus developing new skills. Learning through modular directs students to be in charge of their own learning. Developing behaviors in modular learning influence academic performance of every learner. Academic behaviors directly and indirectly affect academic performance because for other non-cognitive factors, realize academic success through academic behaviors. There are multiple ways to improve academic behaviors. Implementing strategies for improving students' academic behaviors can improve their performance. The purpose of the researchers of choosing this topic is to identify the impacts of modular distance learning to the academic behavior of grade 5 pupil of Rapu-Rapu Central School, determining the good effects of modular distance learning and how it affects them as a grade 5 students.
For the continuation, print or digital versions of modular learning are available. According to LEGO of 2020, the learners that participate in modular distance learning do so at their own pace, in their own fashion, and using self-learning modules, in short called SLMs. It can be in the form of a printed or digitized format or electronic copy for learners, as well as other learning resources such as learners' materials, textbooks, activity sheets, study guides, and other learning materials on a computer, tablet PC, or smartphones. Students can be accessed electronic versions of learning materials, e-learning materials such as offline e-book can be delivered through CDs, DVDs, USB storage, and computer-based apps. The teacher is in charge of keeping track of students' progress. Learners may contact them for assistance by email, phone, text messaging, or instant messaging, and other means. It is up to the teachers to take kebabs. If a student requires remediation or support in his or her module, he or she will be visited home. Print or digital version of modular learning are available. Jayaram and Darababus of 2020, the study materials are critical to distant learning's success and efficacy. To meet the needs and abilities of each student, the Department of Education focuses on self-study module as the primary learning instrument that can be utilized by all students and integrated with other learning modalities. In order to adjust self-study materials to the needs of learners, they must use a variety of ways and channels of communication. Because teachers and students are separated in distance learning, such as modular learning, SLMs are required to act as teachers. Learners in distance learning with prepared SLMs will have access to all of the learning opportunities that they would have in a classroom setting. The SLMs created promote self-directed or autonomous learning by Malilipot of 2020. According to Nardo, MTV of 2017, modules promote self-directed learning. Learning with modules improves kids' self-study and learning abilities. Students are drawn into learning by the topic given in the modules. Students gain a sense of responsibility as a result of the task they were given, and they proceeded independently. They are empowered and learn how to learn. Furthermore, the students engage in real-world activities. They are self-taught and discover new things. Students learn to reflect on their own experiences, which lead to the development of new skills. Learning through modularization allows students to take charges of their own education. Okay.
Here's the statement of the problem. The study seeks to investigate the impact of modular distance learning to the academic performance of grade 5 pupils of Rapu-Rapu Central School. Specifically, it seeks to answer the following sub-problems. Number 1. What are the effects of modular distance learning to the academic behavior of grade 5 pupils of Rapu-Rapu Central School? Number 2. What intervention can be suggested to improve pupils' academic behaviors towards modular distance learning? Scope and delimitation. This research focused on the impact of modular distance learning to the academic performance of the grade 5 pupils of Praparapo Central School. The study is all about academic performance that affects learners' learning process facing pandemic. The entire study focused on the learning behaviors of the grade 5 pupils, the impact of modular distance learning to the academic performance, and the intervention will be suggested to improve the pupils' academic performance towards modular distance learning. This study covered different academic behavior that affect learners' academic performance such as doing works at home, complying their activities in study room. This study also covered the academic performance factors such as intellectual level, personality, motivation, skills, interest, study habits, self-esteem, and the relationship of the learners and their facilitators, which can be developed in modular distance learning facing this pandemic. Moreover, the respondents of the study will be the grade 5 learners who are currently officially enrolled in Praparapo Central School. Here, the target number of respondents is 50% of the official enrolled of grade 5 learners in Praparapo Central School. Significance of the study. This study is significant to the following. Students. This study is expected to shed light to students on becoming responsible and independent learners. This will help them realize the importance of education despite different circumstances. It will also guide them on how to properly manage, study lessons, and finish their schoolwork in modular distance learning education. Teachers. The result of the study can serve as the teacher's guide in providing meaningful learning experience to students amidst modular distance learning. This will help them assess the different needs of the student and provide possible solutions to address the difficulties encountered by the student to further improve their academic performance. Parents. Findings and the data gathered in this study is significant to parents because they will know the challenges encountered by their children. It will also provide them more ideas and knowledge on how to direct their kids and guide them properly in doing their schoolwork. School administrators. This study will give the school administrators additional information in a deeper understanding regarding the impacts of modular distance learning to students' academic performance, which would serve as their future reference for improving the learning experience of the student. The result of the study will provide them valuable insight on how to make policies and guidelines in the new normal education. It will help the institution to further improve the instructions, lessons, activities given to the students in order for them to have meaningful learning experience despite the challenges they encounter. Moreover, this will serve as their basis focus more on having the students' learning experience to be easier and more interesting. Future researchers. This study may serve as their guide in developing future studies of the similar kind. Research method. The research will conduct qualitative research using a descriptive research method. The data will be gathered using survey materials in order to provide respondents with a more accurate representation of the problem. The data will include a survey questionnaire and other items that can be used to record documentation during the conduct of this research. The qualitative approach will be used by the researchers as instruments because the study is more than just knowing the impact of modular learning on students and the effectiveness that takes to their advantage in coping with the modular learning system, as well knowing the intervention can be used to improve pupils' academic performance.
Go.
Source of data. The needed data were drawn from the following. First is pupils' profile. Next is effects of modular distance learning. Next is intervention can be suggested to improve academic performance. Pupils' profile. The pupils' responses were assessed with the aspects namely name, age, sex, number of member of the family. This may serve as the background of the pupils individually. Effects of modular distance learning. This shows the result of the effects based from the experiences of the pupils under modular distance learning. The intervention improving academic performance. This data shows the result of the intervention can be used or suggest that will help to improve academic performance of the pupils under modular distance learning. Respondents. The researchers will choose some of the grade 5 students of Rapurapo Central Schools or RRCS that will be considered in the study, which is the impact of modular distance learning in their academic performance as a whole. A randomized procedure will be conducted in choosing 50 grade 5 students of RRCS, 25 girls and 25 boys. In order to determine the samples of this study, researcher will choose and ask permission for the enrolled grade 5 students of RRCS. The researcher will also be considering the referrals of other people who are more appropriate to provide opinions about the study as well as volunteering grade 5 students of Rapurapo Central Schools. Here's the table. Category: grade 5 boys, number of respondents 25 and the percentage is 50%. Grade 5 girls, number of respondents is 25 and 50%. Total of number of respondents 50 and the percentage is 100%. G.
Instrument. The questionnaire will be the main instrument in the study to solicit information. It was prepared and designed so that it will measure to or gather what it intends to measure or solicit. More particularly, to be able to get the data that will answer the questions asked in the study. Research sampling. Respondents are whole enrollment of grade 5 and will be using the purposive sampling. They are going to answer the questionnaire based on the given criteria. Data gathering procedure. The first step will be used to ask permission from the school principal to conduct the survey. The questionnaire was distributed to the respondents after submitted the letter request addressed to the school principal of the Rapurapo Central School to allow the researcher would strictly adhere the rules and regulation upon the approval. Before the primary data will be gathered, a permission to allow the researcher to conduct a study will be submitted to the said school. After the permission to conduct the study was approved by the school principal, the researcher commences the survey. The collection of data will in the survey questionnaire form. During the gathering of data, written instructions were also provided in order for the respondents clearly further understand the instrument and as well as direct collection of respondents on the part of the researcher.
Statistical treatments. The response of the respondents to the statement checklist were carefully tallied, tabulated, and organized. The percentage with this rate are proportion per 100. It is used as descriptive measure together with the frequency distribution to show the relationship of the magnitude of the item of the variables described in relation to the whole. The formula is the percentage is equal to the average divided by the total number of population multiplied to 100, where F is the average, N is the total number of population. The checklist will be used in the questionnaire. The checklist has specified verbal indicators per number. In responding to the items in the checklist, the respondents specify their level of agreement or disagreements towards the query being asked. Here are the references.
We will now end here the presentation of Chapter 1 to 3 of our research entitled The Impacts of Modular Distance Learning to the Academic Performance of Grade 5 Pupils of Rapurapo.